Let's talk about an aspect of casting reels that I feel like really gets overlooked, but it's something I really try to pay a lot of attention to, and that's gear ratios. So I can tell you from being here at the shop, the #1 selling gear ratios in that somewhat of a 7-to-1 ratio. So really, when you're looking at a ratio, you've got a 5, 6, 7, and 8 is how I break it down. The decimal point and the place after that, I really don't pay attention to. Typically, if you're staying in that 5 range, or in a 6 range, or in a 7 range, your inches per turn is really what matters. And on almost all the reels, they're going to be within just an inch or two, no matter what that decimal place is, as long as you're still in that same category. So we're starting out with a 5-to-1 ratio. To me, that's really reserved for 2 things. Either cold water cranking with something like a flat side crankbait like this Little John MD, or really deep divers like this Little John DD. To me, it's something where you either need the slow ratio for the cold water to really let those fish get to the bait and actually eat it well without jerking it away from them, or with a big bait, it takes a lot of the pressure off of you, lets you not work near as hard during a cast. You can still speed it up enough to get a good reaction bite, but just that slow turn of the 5-to-1 is not going to wear your arm out near as quickly. For me, the #1 reel you're going to find in my boat is a 6-to-1. And that's really because I like to throw moving baits a lot. If I have my preference, that's the way I'm going to fish every time. So, normal crankbaits, your regular square bills, kind of intermediate divers, things like that are not going to work your arm off. But definitely spinner baits, swim jigs, vibrating jigs are all for me on a 6-to-1. The only thing that I don't throw on a 6 that I really consider a moving bait, that you're moving with your reel that is under the water, would be a lipless. And I just feel like that 6-to-1 is a little bit slow, especially when you're fishing around grass, things like that. But to me, if I'm throwing a 7, to me it's a lot harder to slow down than it is to speed up. I'm a guy that I try and, if I can't visualize it and see my bait, I feel like I'm working it too fast all the time. So I can definitely get away with a 6 a lot better than a 7. And really the #1 least used in my boat, I would say, would be a 7. I really reserve that for 2 different things. A jerk bait like this Spro McStick, and like I said, a lipless bait like this Roku Shad. It's something that I just feel like with a jerk bait, it's got the right cadence to me. I know when I jerk it and snap it, exactly how many turns of a reel I have to make to take that slack up before I can continue my cadence. And then, an 8-to-1 to me, it's really fast. So I reserve this for 2 different things. Either a bait that's on the bottom that I'm only taking up the slack, like this football jig, Carolina rigs, things like that, or a bait that I can visually see, like this bronze eye frog or a buzz bait. So the 8-to-1 is great when you need to take up that slack, or especially if you've got a lot of dead water in your cast with the top water. You're bringing your bait out away from the strike zone. When you're not going to get a bite, you can go ahead and burn it and be a lot more efficient out on the water. So if you're looking for a new reel, make sure you keep these tips in mind. Some guys are going to think the exact opposite, but this is for sure what works for me. Make sure you check out more tips at Real Deal Tackle.